All right, it's 2 minutes fast, or faster, 3 minutes faster.
Okay. Okay, let's call to order the East Haddam Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. That's what I need to say, right?
Yep.
Okay. Can we have attendance, please?
Barry Brownell,
Here.
James Curtin,
Here.
Kevin Matthews absent, Harvey Thomas,
Here.
Bernard Gillis absent, Louis Salka absent, Rich Pettinelli absent, Joe Zaid,
Here.
and Ed Govins.
I was gonna say, you miss, how can you miss Ed?
Because I'm reading off of this list, and he was the last one in.
Oh, you don't have mine. Joe, you can, stand in for Kevin this evening. Okay, minutes of the past meeting, I'll defer to Jim.
I just had a couple of things, questions about stuff. On page 3, at the top of the page, that first paragraph says, Mr. Curtin asked what does it mean exactly, and I don't even know whether that was me that said that, but I remember somebody asked that, but I wasn't sure who said what. Does anybody know what that was about?
Well, Harvey asked about the notation of what I quoted, the slope, modified, 12-inch layer of modified riprap. And just to explain it more and.
Oh, maybe that's what I asked?
That's all, you
I was
just said,
asking, okay, all right.
what do you mean by that?
Okay, and then, the only thing was at the bottom of the page, when we modified, the motion was made by, Lou to approve it,
Yeah,
and then, let's see, it was seconded by, Bernie.
Yeah,
Then when Harvey modified the motion, I did ask Lou if he was willing to modify his motion, which he agreed to do. And I think we should plug that in, because,
you want that, okay.
yeah, only because, it was kind of it was your application.
Okay,
And then it was seconded by Bernie again. He agreed
okay,
to
so
second.
add that you asked if it was okay to add that in,
And Lou,
Yeah.
Lou agreed.
okay.
Yeah, and Lou, yeah, I asked and then Lou said yes, because I specifically went back to him because he had to modify his motion.
And then technically, what Mr. Gillis really did was agreed as well.
Yes, yeah, and then he agreed to the
Right, rather
modified
than seconding
motion.
it a second time.
Just for clarification. yeah.
That's,
That was all I had.
For a second. Thank you. I apologize, I left my neck home.
So under 7, where it says Mr. Curtin noted for the record that Mr. Pettinelli will act on the behalf of Mr. Govins regarding this application, I just don't understand the context of that from the previous.
Where was that? Where was that one?
That was 7, the third line down. I was just kind of confused on where I left it in there.
Item
Page 4,
7, you mean?
page 4.
Oh, page 4, okay.
It's under number topic 7.
Oh, topic 7, okay, yep. Now, where was,
It doesn't matter, it's just,
I was just,
okay,
if
it
it
is took care of it.
okay, it was in regards to what he stated.
Do you want me to take it out?
I just don't understand, I didn't know what application that was referring to. Like how he was,
Well, I guess Rich being
Acting
the
on his
engineer and.
No, Mr. Curtin noted for the record, Mr. Pettinelli would act on Mr. Govins regarding this application because Mr. Govins didn't hear
Oh.
the previous.
he wasn't at the
Wasn't at the
previous meeting.
previous
meeting.
That was
Okay.
why we did that.
Okay.
There was 3 guys, I think, that weren't at the previous meeting, so they couldn't act on this one.
oh,
So, but there was only one guy to fill in, so Rich Pettinelli filled in.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
So you were able to pass it, you had enough
Yeah.
people?
yeah, we had enough,
Yeah.
yeah, but that was close to being an issue.
Yeah.
do you want me to add because
Maybe
Mr.
Govins
Gubbins?
wasn't at the previous public hearing.
Okay,
Just so you know, in order to vote on the issue, you have to be present at all public hearings that are held. Or listen to the tapes.
Or bother to go and listen.
okay,
We all have to do that.
okay.
Okay, anything else? No, anything else, Harvey?
No, I'm fine.
No, okay, so we'll accept the minutes as amended, please. Any bills, Jim? I didn't get any.
Just got one in recently, for East Haddam News for $141 for all the public hearing notices and affidavits.
Motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion to change the order of business?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Jim, let's go to the CEO report.
I got one question for you, and I'll pass it around. Bob Kasner was approved for the site on Town Street. Since that time, he's realized that it may be beneficial to put a small additional section for retail to connect the two buildings. Before, he was gonna have a walkway
Oh, all right.
walkway through to the building. Now he's proposing something that's less than 12 by 16. Do you want me to administratively deal with this? Or do you feel that warrants coming back to a special exception? as an addition? It doesn't change the parking, it doesn't change the septic.
What does the commission feel?
I'm out of it.
Oh, that's right.
What are you looking at?
Bob wants to add this, and we're wondering whether. The question is, should we pull him in for this, or do we have staff handle it? Doesn't affect parking?
Oh, he's taking the building down that he's got there.
No.
Yeah, well, he
Oh,
actually, that's the second part. The second part is that the building,
Got to that yet.
I haven't gotten to that. The building that's there, the base of it.
Which
is
building?
Toasty, the
This one
package
here,
store building
package store.
and the garage, because they're too low in the water table. When they cleared all the bushes and everything,
Oh, the garage too has to go.
yeah, the garage too, they're
So-
just down too low. So they're gonna rebuild in exactly the same footprint,
Yeah.
except that they're going to be, elevation's gonna bring them up 18 to 20 inches higher than what they had before.
So it's very close to just modifying the original structure.
Well, they're,
It's
yeah,
one step beyond,
it's,
basically.
I mean, the problem is it's way too low if you go drive by there, I'd say if you drove by there today, you may find that there's water at the first floor elevation.
Which building is that? I didn't catch.
So one behind it, the old house in the front, that's gonna be the
The
office
purple
space.
one down there?
Yeah,
This is the
one.
purple
Yeah.
house. This is the studio and
the
bedroom.
studio, yeah, and then that's the
And this is
garage.
the garage.
They're just sitting too low, and you know,
He's already have a permit pool down there, doesn't he? Is that
for the reconstruction, all that, yeah.
But he'd have to pull another permit for the construction of a,
Yeah, he'll have to come in with complete building diagrams and stud layout and all that, the whole 9 yards.
yeah, you have to do that.
To me, that's close to improving the original structure beyond it.
Well, what does the
To me,
commission want to
it's
do?
not far from that, so.
I'd like to hear from the public.
Well, it's a foregone conclusion if the building's gonna go down.
I don't have a big problem with
I
it.
mean, they're not
It
gonna
is
change the
commercial.
fate. Wetlands is reviewing it already. Actually, they reviewed it already.
It puzzled me that there was a disconnect between the retail and the garage, and and this connects it all together, right?
Correct.
Because
Yes.
it is retail space.
Yeah.
So that makes sense in that way. Yeah, as long as the height doesn't get
It's gonna be one story?
crazy.
Well, it'll be, the back room was the
The
studio.
new building.
The studio
new-
building
the-
was, but the addition's one story, correct?
Okay.
Yes.
I'm
So-
assuming that
Could
when
we
he
see an
rebuilds the
elevation
buildings
of
are
this?
gonna be the exact same.
Sid, there's two
Go ahead,
things.
you first.
Right, when he rebuilds the two buildings that he's gonna dismantle, I'm assuming he's gonna build them as close to as they were.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Could we see an elevation of this?
Yeah, George Fellner, basically you take the old elevation, you're gonna raise it, that's all.
Yeah, but I mean with the new building.
New building on it? Yeah,
Is it on here?
I don't think it is, I don't think it's on the second page of that. All I've been given at this point was the site plan. Speaking of the devil.
Tell him to give us the elevation.
Is he the devil?
Suspicious walking. contemplating as to whether they need to have you come back for special exception or not for your, now we find out because of the rot and everything else of the tear down plus reconstruction and the small addition.
Yeah, basically it's gonna be the same building, but just lifted up.
Well, it's not the, I don't think the issue is the rebuilding of the other two units.
The
It's
addition of the
it's
third building.
the smaller building that you're connecting them with.
Oh,
That was, you know, so.
because it wasn't a part of it.
What do you think, Harvey? Would you like to see it?
No, that's okay. All you're gonna do, you're raising up a building and basically rebuilding it on the same footprint, in the same style and everything. I don't think we need to see that. But if you're building something new that wasn't on the plan, I think we should.
Could you bring us an elevation of this, so that we could kind of get a feel for what it looks like?
I did bring one down.
No, I didn't think,
Yeah. Who hooked that?
maybe next time or something.
Okay.
Oh, you have it
Yeah,
in your possession? Wow.
At home.
yeah. I didn't know you were gonna. You're gonna be here for, I mean, you're gonna be here for half an hour, right?
We're here for a good hour and a half.
Could be all night.
No,
Oh, well, then if you're,
you could, I'm not.
I'll go grab it so you can see.
Those
what
puddles are
exactly
getting
what it
big out there.
is.
Well, let me ask you this, though. I mean, if he goes all the way there, are you still gonna wanna ask for a public hearing? Let's not waste Bob's time.
Yeah, right. How are you gonna connect the two buildings? Just
With
a-
that new building.
It's basically what you're gonna see from the road is very, very little. Basically, this part right here, that's all you're gonna see from the road.
Yeah.
So it's this little piece right here. It's
Yeah.
actually, it's about 19 feet by 18 feet. That's what
Single
it is.
story.
Single story, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it's basically, it's a connector here.
It wasn't before, there was just a walkway before,
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a
covered walkway?
Yeah.
Basically,
uh,
it's filling in the spot.
yeah, but,
I don't have a problem.
No? Do you, Joe? Okay. As long as it's not. Just bring us the elevation sometime so we can look at it and,
Sure.
and, we'll take care of
Maybe
it.
I'll bring it for you tonight.
No. Nothing. Bad driving out there. Okay, what else, Jim?
That's about it.
That's it, nothing going on in town?
Nothing outstanding except the revitalization committee tomorrow at 7:00?
7:30.
7:30?
Now, you're bringing the results, the only thing is that I ask them is the results from the survey, because that's what revitalization wanted, Randy asked for.
Oh, for this meeting or for,
No, well, whatever, if we have something new that affects it, but
okay.
that, whatever the survey was to the public, that's what everyone's interested in, relative to to that plot of land.
We were gonna do two, I thought one was there and one was at the farmer's market, except it,
I know one got-
Well, I think
one got
aren't you
ran
looking for this, our survey that we did?
Well, yeah, the survey, whatever we had back response, that's
Yeah.
what they're looking for,
Okay.
from the town survey that we're doing for the plan of conservation development,
Okay.
relative to that site. So, yeah.
Okay. I will let the commission know that if you do plan on attending, you must remember that this will be coming in front of planning and zoning in the future, and we do have to watch ourselves to be biased by outside influences. Okay, so just be aware of that. So unfortunately, we don't go to a lot of meetings because we have to watch ourselves.
Seems like I do.
So, okay, anything else we need to talk about?
I think that's it.
Jim,
Okay.
can I ask you, I was in the building department today and I noticed Colchester Construction was in here. Is that anything relevant to us?
Well, he's finishing up, the Green Village site. So
Village is.
Rodney's.
Oh,
Rodney
Rodney's
Davis
up
project, yeah,
Proceeding along.
he's proceeding
Okay.
along and
Good.
he's just buttoning up all of his water. In fact, his attorney sent the agreement because we're the water company, sent that. He, brought in all the components for the water system, so I have it on file because we are the secondary on water systems if he decides to go to Bermuda and disappear forever. And he also has to leave a cash bond in place so that if that happens, we have operating expenses to go through, but, and the reason he has to go through that is that he could get COs for up to 6 or 7 of the units, but he can't get any COs past that. So he's getting close to needing COs through number 9 through 16. He says he's got people waiting to occupy the buildings, and he's, on construction with the rest of them, so.
Okay.
Looking to button it all, and he wanted to get it all, which everybody who's in the building industry wanted to get their permits in prior to October 1st before the code change for building. Because there was a lot. So,
Commercial code, or?
commercial and residential, right? Residential too?
Yo,
Look at the look.
kind of tough from the last one. I mean, basically, it's about $5,000 was in the last code change, is what costs are to conform to those.
Really?
A lot of money in those new code changes.
And where's that being generated from, the state? The code changes?
Yeah, they're coming from the state buildings.
Well, but isn't that-
It's a state building code, that's
Yeah.
what it is. But the average dwelling, a 2,000 square foot dwelling, it's $5,000 worth of additional costs involved.
Is it storm related or protection of like
It's a lot of it is
electricity,
energy. Energy is probably the biggest piece of it.
insulation?
It's insulation and what you have to do. It's exactly framing work up in your rafters that have to get all sealed. So when you have your insulation that goes up against your soffit areas, that all has to be blocked now. So everything has to be blocked and caulked.
So my brother's gonna become a millionaire as an exterminator with all the moisture
I
holding
was
in
gonna
there.
say, they've already got
was gonna
problems
say,
with
houses
mold
aren't
and
breathing
attics all
anymore.
over the place.
It's gonna be a problem. I think it's gonna be a problem. And, what we're doing is making it so there's no air. Which I don't personally like the look of it.
So you're blocking the soffit vent?
No, but basically so your insulation isn't gonna be open to your soffit. Basically, we've had to raise our rafters so that the air can still get through it, but basically that has to be blocked in where the insulation normally goes, just usually sits right there. So it's all blocked now. And it's just one of the places now we have the plywood actually on the end where you put a tub or a shower or anything. And you have to insulate it, plywood it, and seal it, and then put your tub in. So now there's 3 inspections.
Is there any purpose to that?
It's for, and it's a heat area, but it seems like we're making it so we don't have air.
Yes, Harvey.
So there's a revitalization,
Tomorrow.
there is also tomorrow, the, I guess it's the Board of Ed, to talk about various projects, capital projects involving the various schools.
I think that's Thursday night.
I think you're right, I apologize. But,
Another
hell,
meeting.
I only work one day a week, so I don't know one day from the
Your
next.
schedule for the week is full if you got the Thursday meeting.
No, leave me alone.
I have one, but not here. What capital projects are they looking at? They're not, are they actually gonna start to look at putting a track in?
That's one of the items.
Good.
I don't know, is there, it was
That's all I care
pitched
about.
to me as more or less a report of where they're at, not necessarily, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this and we're not gonna do that, but.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Okay, let's get down to business then. Discussion, plan of conservation and development. We have 3 special meetings that we held. And let's try and get through this as quickly as possible.
Joe, you got a pen?
3, 4.
4?
Starting in May.
Oh, then I don't have May.
No? All right.
I got it.
So those are survey results, initial survey. You want me to make a copy? Okay, run it right off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Page-
Jim, is your clean without me,
Yeah, and I don't have anything marked up.
Because I got tags on
I
mine,
got-
so.
I was missing one.
Where you going?
Gonna make it,
Can run copies.
you need,
I left mine in the car, it was raining too hard. I didn't-
Wow.
Well, that's what we're doing tonight, so might wanna run out and grab them.
Yeah, right.
I have a better answer.
Are yours marked up? Better go get them.
Bring an anchor.
You want my
If yours are
umbrella?
marked up, then you gotta go get them.
I've got a good memory though.
You want my umbrella?
That's,
I'll be right back. Do we need a motion for this?
No.
Sorry.
We're not in a public hearing.
You getting yours? Well, if you're getting yours, then I can hand this to. There. Then I have to go copy anything.
You got the next one, I can?
Oh, sure, now you.
Yeah.
Oh, you may be in there for an hour or so, Jim.
Grab that whole stack, so let me go make a copy.
When you say so moved, you're taking it away from Crary?
Well, Crary is asking someone to make a motion, and I'm saying that, do I have a motion for this? And I say, so moved. So just that I'm making the motion and then somebody will second it.
I kinda made
It's
it,
just the
but
way
he's
that,
just taking
that's the way it's
responsibility.
done, I mean,
So
sent
should I
them-
say so moved, or should I say
No,
that you
I think
make?
you can say I made the motion.
Okay.
By way of example, if Curry says, may I have a motion to pay the bills, and Jim says, so moved, in effect, Jim made the motion to pay the bills.
Okay, yeah, I tried to find that in Robert's rules or
we-
whatever, and that's kind of what they said, that it's taken it away from
Correct.
the chairman. And
We only do that because the chairman, I don't know, it's always been kind of the rule, you're not supposed to make the
But you
motion, so
can
you
make the
can
motion.
make them, but
Right.
Oh, really?
we tend not to when you're the chairman. You always ask for somebody to make the motion, or make a motion to deny something or whatever, you know.
So move what?
Yeah,
You know, but certain commissions, chairmans can't vote. They can't do, but here you can.
Here you can, because you're the tiebreaker on,
Right.
on votes.
I mean, this first selectman can sit on this commission, but as a non-voting member,
Non-voting, yeah.
he does have a seat.
So let's see, I have a few different things.
I don't know why I don't have this. Think you can get through all this in an hour?
Oh, sure. I don't have much, I only have a few things, a couple of real simple things.
Do we need to read everything, or just go page by page, or, I don't know how much you guys have on it.
I don't have.
I know Bernie is the one.
I
that's why
sat and
wanted him to
reread it
get-
all, that's all I know. I reread it all once, and I said, I better do this once, so. And there wasn't much to change. We
Lot of
already had all the
Actual
discussion.
alarm was going off in the
oh,
building.
yeah, I thought it was a fire alarm.
Till 10:30 now.
10:30.
Well, we'll get the latest weather report when Bernie comes in.
Yeah. When I came in, it was raining really hard out there.
If you got a snorkel on, you'll.
Yeah.
I had to show my uncle's property to someone to try and get some of the yard work done. And of course, we had to do it tonight. It was like pouring out. It's like, really, Joe? Got the house almost cleaned out.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Little one.
So is your son ready to move in?
I'd go at first.
You would?
He doesn't get anything for 12 years.
Oh, okay, well, until he's a grown up.
So that- we just got another
Yeah.
flash.
That's
flood.
good, though, that only makes sense. You can't give things to
Couple of
21-year-olds.
spots there.
But I will say this, though, I took over the farm at 25.
Yeah, you might have been more, I mean, not everybody's the same, but.
See, this is all I want to clear.
Oh,
And it's same distance from here to the property line.
This is where we came down to, that's where the anchors were?
Yes.
Yeah, right, right.
Yes. But someone dragged them.
Someone move them?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Eddie and I tried to move them back, and we couldn't.
Changed.
My son and I put them out, we buried them 2 feet down.
Well, let's see what happens here. I don't know.
So somebody's boat was on it and got dragged out?
And they had to have the motors going.
Oh.
No, their stern was down, trust me.
No.
Okay. We all set now?
Yeah, where we start?
We're gonna start, page 1 of, May 29th, 2018. wanna do this?
I was just gonna go over the things that I had, cause I only have a few things. I read it and couldn't mark
Let's
up
just go
much. I
from
mean, what
page
can-
to page, or we'll just march
already
right
went
through
through
it.
all
I
the
don't think we
stuff.
need to read it.
I know,
per se.
we already went
Okay,
through
but
it all.
let's go from page,
No, because the initial is the survey part.
It'll take you an hour just to flip the pages.
right. You know,
You said
There
it
aren't
was
many issues with
May
the survey. I
29th,
mean,
2014,
No,
Nothing.
2018, okay.
Joe, did you have, May?
Say again?
Do you have the May issue, the
Yes,
survey?
yes, I don't
Okay.
have any.
Okay.
issues at all on that.
Okay, well, Jim, what do you have on there? Anything that you wanted in the survey?
no, I was just looking at, on page 37 of that first thing was, it's near the end there, there's the graph on, land use and the acreage being split up with all these different uses. One was the question was on the utility one, what is that supposed to
37?
be? On 37, yeah, of that first section.
Okay.
34 acres.
Yeah, I don't get the utility,
Utility, like, if you go, on Town Street, right across what used to be Parker's house.
yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's
they
a
own that little substation
There's a little
section.
substation,
Yep.
so that's
Or there
what those
was.
are.
But it's not the high tension lines or anything, cause
No,
that's a
no, those
lot
are
of
all
land.
easements. No,
Oh, those are just easements?
they own some. They own some, not a lot.
Not a lot.
Cause I was thinking they gotta own a lot more than 34 acres in town.
What road, Rob?
Orchard?
They own that land.
Yeah, they're,
South of Pop.
Yeah.
yeah, they're listed as 34 acres total.
That
That's
just
not
seems
a lot.
like a very little piece for them. I don't know, that just doesn't seem like that would
Alright,
be
I'll-
correct.
I'll double check.
I'm just guessing, but I mean, they're the largest taxpayer in town and they're paying all this money on the easements?
Well, for renting,
Oh, they're
they
paying
rent all the poles and stuff.
Poles, they're paying it for.
Oh,
the poles.
that's where the big hit is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you
And
think
that,
that's a small area, Rob, 34 acres? Sound right?
Jim's right, most of it is easy for who own acreage, but probably.
well, maybe you're right, I
You
mean,
got the subway.
that must have come from
You
the
got the substations,
tax department.
2 or 3 locations.
Yeah. Frontier has pieces too.
And the other one was the private game club, that's actually East Haddam Fishing Game, is that pretty much it? Sportsman, what do you guys own?
And Connecticut Sportsman's.
Oh, Connecticut, oh, that's, they got
The old
400
Berlin.
acres, so
Berlin.
basically East Haddam Fishing Game's got about 2,000 acres, cause what do you guys have?
2,400. Got nothing. We're the paupers, man, you kidding?
Come on, you don't own any land at all?
No, we lease. Yeah.
Okay,
We
I'm
don't-
just curious as to, so if the East Haddam Fishing Game Club land went into open space, what would you perceive that to be, end up being, a state park or state forest, or what
Well,
would
the
that be?
state looked at that, that's on their overall, thing from 20 years ago. But right now, they're an active club. They're
They have
looking
no
to-
intent on selling
They
it?
have no intent, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I got these.
What does the Connecticut Sportsman Club have, how many acres?
Page 57, I think that's like just under 200, isn't it?
I was gonna
180
say,
or something like that.
okay.
Oh, okay, it's under 200, okay.
Could I ask a question about, this is all well and good, but is this the actual factual format that they're gonna use?
No.
No,
Okay,
this was presentation to us to see it.
okay.
That wouldn't be, this isn't in the plan of conservation development? the
Oh,
way-
it is, but it's gotten better since, remember the last, you'll see when we get to the last one, they cleaned it up a little bit.
Well,
So,
I think it's interesting to look at the total percentage of acres of the total land being used by different things.
Correct.
Because Bernie brought up this at the last meeting about the 10,000 acres of open space you're looking to get, which I think is an outrageous amount of land you're talking about, but, and somewhere in here, it's, but it's in a farther, on the July 18th section, we talked about 20,000 acres of
Yeah,
land
that-
into open space.
no, because there's only 20,000.
I'm like,
There was
where are they
20,000
getting the
left.
land from? Cause there's not enough land to do
We're
all
making
this.
it, Jim.
Well, I wish we could, I mean, you know.
What it says is our projection is for 10,000 of the 20,000 that's open space right now to be secured as open space or protected land by, in 15 to 25 years. And I don't think that's a big reach.
Let me see.
One thing,
Wow, that's a huge reach for the taxpayers.
I mean, I think it's a ridiculous reach, really, but I mean, put it this way, that's such a big reach that I'd have to say, where did this number come from?
The
Because
land could be donated to the town.
I'm not saying how it could be done, I'm saying the townspeople think they weighed in on,
Yeah, where did
that's
that number come from?
55%
It
of
was
the
there,
town.
we had brought that in
What are the
2008.
chances of that happening this century? Or
Well, I
this
don't
doesn't
see
matter
it,
if we
but,
could put 100,000, it doesn't make it
No, I
happen.
mean, you raised a good point.
It's just
Where
the
did
goal.
that figure come from?
And
Yeah.
that figure was there in 2008.
says explore every mechanism
had to have gotten it
available
from
to
somewhere.
preserve
Yes,
20,000
it was-
acres of undeveloped land in perpetuity,
So let me
under
explain.
land use goals and
So-
strategies. I'm like, it
Different
says
than open
20,000
space.
acres, if it isn't.
We're ahead of
then-
ourselves, don't you?
Okay, what
That's
just came up from
keeping it
this
East
land
Haddam,
use
right, East
percent?
Haddam.
I agree.
So Jim, if it said 5 out of the 20,000.
Well, that's a reasonable.
Would that be more reasonable?
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, I mean, when you're talking about 55% of the town ending up in permanent open space, that would lock in the entire, I mean, I don't know that the people in town would think that even makes any sense, because you wouldn't be able to do anything with anything, because there'd be nothing left. I mean, you'd have every acre of any usable possible land tied up in open space.
Well, I'd love to bring up the issue of, if you looked at the Fish and Game Club, since we just
Yeah.
talked about that, what percentage of that land is usable?
Oh, I'm sure
We'd have to,
percent,
we'd have to look at the map.
yeah,
Yeah,
that,
no, it'd be something to research down the
No,
line.
it's, you don't have to, we did that back in 2006 and 7 when we were going through it, when we had, Sandy Prislow go through and run the GIS program over it again. And so, when you look at, that game club, which is, East Haddam Fish and Game Club is 2,400. And so obviously the other place is 158, that's about where we're at, 100 so on it. But the game club had some very, very highly developable lands.
they have some, yeah.
So, when we went in 2008, we started 2006 going off the open space goals and objectives, which was in a narrative and part of the ordinance to explore open space parcels. We ended up saying at that time there was approximately 20,000 acres of land that was declared as vacant. The number was brought out to look at half of that. That was presented at public hearings. It went through all the processes. It made it through several versions and eventually in the final version of it. So basically the idea was, it was saying, look at half of it. And the reason we said look at half of it, we were looking at that big swath, which, did I bring that in? Got it. We were looking at that big swath of
Yeah.
taking your hand and looking at the areas that are out here, and then a little bit along the river, and this very little thin strip along there. So there's where the number came from, was going out and dealing with the 8 Mile River, which is 1/3 of our town, and has some of the largest,
Well, the watershed.
the watershed, yes.
So everyone knows.
So that was where the discussion came through of 10,000. Since then, because you asked me to do this, in the town of East Haddam, we've acquired over 1,400 acres. We've acquired. I didn't add in the East Haddam Land Trust because they've accepted easements and stuff, and the state's grabbed some stuff. So we're close to 1,800 acres when it's all said and done. So that goal of 10,000 acres, we're almost 1/5 of it in one schedule of it. So whether and you could word it another way, you could word it in a way that there's X amount of acres left and vacant, and the town should explore looking at the ones that are connected to other ones, that are in important watersheds, whichever. You don't have to put a number to it, you could just take the goals of the open space.
I'm not
committee
against
and say,
purchasing open space, but I think it has to be somewhat in the realm of practicality
Yeah.
relative to the town.
Yeah.
I like open space purchases, and I've voted for almost every one that I can think of right now. But when I read something that says 20,000 acres in
Yeah,
here,
no, you didn't say 20,000.
yeah, it says it right here. It
No,
says it on page 19 of this sheet right here. Of the July 18th one. 19. Says, explore every mechanism available to preserve 20,000 acres of undeveloped land in perpetuity.
Yeah, that's a typo.
Oh, well, okay. Because I'm like,
I did not see it.
wow, I mean, 20,000 acres, there's only 36,000 in the whole town, and that
Right,
would be
right.
like every available piece of property.
Yeah, that's a
I mean, I just
typo.
don't think numbers like that. It's on page 19 of the July one. Page 19 of the July one, the 19's a blank.
Yeah,
Land
no,
use
that's a
goals.
typo.
Oh,
Jim.
okay, all right, well, that so that clarifies that, all right.
Cause there's not
20,000 acres, I mean, who
Since
the hell's?
there's been land that's been built on, and we took 1,400 out of it, there's less than 20 available.
Well, that's why I figured it out, it was 55% of the town, I'm like, I don't even think that's
No.
could be
Okay.
possible if you had the money, okay. So
I
there's,
had that circled, Jim, and had a question mark next to it.
oh, okay, cool, yeah.
We're on the same page.
Okay, anything else on the survey? I know we're gonna be incorporating the survey as we go through this, when we start working with Mike on this. On page 12 of that survey, it's where we have the large letters that were most important, but, you know, that stand out at everyone. Rural character, growth, development, town, business, taxes, open space. Those seems to be the items that,
Concur,
page
yeah.
12, that jump out.
Of the
Those are
June,
the most important ones?
of June?
No, of May,
That's why I can't find it.
the survey. So I guess those, you know, those are the items that, as we go through, are the most important ones. Open space is in there, Bernie.
Yes.
Don't sweat it. But people are concerned, you know, with their taxes, business, you know, development,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, the last 10 years, we took care of the conservation,
I think all those
Yeah.
things are
so
relevant to our growth.
we need to pay for things now.
The other thing, the only thing I had in this whole thing, it said on page 26, economic development. And when you look down, it said parking needs and access issues, road relocations, and it says are not Connecticut DOT, but they are. Shouldn't say not, because they're Connecticut DOT, it's Route 87.
It's all state road, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so it makes, if you read this document, you think you're on a town road.
So we should just take not out of
Not
there.
out, yep.
All right, yeah. Okay. Are we all set with the survey? I mean, we refer back at this point?
Page 39, the last page,
You're jumping
they
around.
put down
That's all right.
under opportunities. What initiatives could be taken to better reinforce and build upon the key economic generators of East Haddam? What were they driving at there?
Bob maybe could tell us more about what he thinks the answer to that is.
Where are you? Which, first paragraph?
9 of that first,
Yeah,
Piece.
but which paragraph?
Second,
The middle one.
what initiatives,
Initiatives could
yeah.
be taken to better reinforce.
Such a general statement.
Well, that was the question
these
to
are-
us.
That's the
Right,
question to
yeah.
us.
Help me out.
So,
What
But
they
what-
were hoping we would do is say, what initiatives could be taken to better reinforce and build upon the key economic generators of East Haddam? Goose the heck out of tourism. See what you could do about making agriculture not just growing stuff, but people come and watch the stuff grow, so to speak. Agricultural tours. Build another theater, whatever, I don't know.
Fill in the blanks.
Yes, that's a fill-in-the-blank question,
yeah, that's what was for us, fill in the blanks.
and we haven't quite yet, to my knowledge.
Not really, and that's, you know. And I think, you know, that seminar we went to the other day about economic development, you know, kind of fills in that question where, you know, first it starts with the people that are here and helping them, finding out what's going on. And then building from a solid base. I mean, we know our base, tourism can be added to, so
What was
that's the
that
kind of
last week?
last, I've been going to so many meetings, when was
Thursday.
that, last Thursday? Wednesday?
That was Wednesday.
Like modifying our regs like we just did on the one where they now sell their produce and the, that one, IG zone that was, I mean, little things like that, I guess, would be review regulations to see where we could help out. That was an easy one.
Okay.
Yeah, I always assumed that was just ongoing.
Yeah, we just
But I
didn't
guess
realize
we
that.
do- But I guess we do have to actually put a name on it and identify where we want to look for these opportunities.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, on to June,
27?
June 27th. Yep. Start with you, Bernie, what do you have? What's your first page that you have marked up?
Again, the statistics. I haven't briefed myself on this, so, page 4, I have a question. How many seasonal cottages do we have? Do we have a number on that? Is that included in this survey result?
Page 4, let me look, see how you're referring to.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It says
Well-
2.5%.
That's who
Oh,
responded.
the respondents,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Respondents. But there's 700 structures around the 3 lakes. And I think at one point in like 2000, 2005, somewhere in there, I've estimated that 350 of them were seasonal still. So there's 350 seasonal structures on there between Bashan, Lake Hayward, Blues Reservoir.
People that are deeded to move out.
Yeah.
When,
Yeah, they just.
So the tax card would say seasonal on
Yeah.
those guys.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
I didn't have anything on this section. Mine was
Joe,
all-
Harvey?
No, I'm fine. So far.
Okay.
I'm thinking the only thing that we didn't fill in the blocks from is the, who's in charge and who doesn't part. When we got to the back end of this.
Responsibility is the,
Starts on page 18, really 19.
Economic Development Road, yep. Well, I guess what we're looking for now, whether or not how we want it to read, or is this going down the path that we would like to see, when we start to cut and paste for the actual, what are we gonna give Mike to work off of?
okay, on that page 19, 1.3. Consider proactive activities to solicit developers' interest and input on reuse of sites as a way to advance the RFP process for redevelopment. What does that mean?
Well, revitalization committee has been meeting. There's a couple people that have come forward and said that they're interested and made presentations on a preliminary basis. It kind of, because of that, and I just wrote a sample, which I don't know, did you get it emailed to you?
maybe,
A sample RFP?
no.
Well, I stole it from.
Maybe it's in there, I haven't read it.
Okay, so because I put it together on Monday and a little bit of Tuesday, it's something similar to what's happening in Groton. They were selling a school building, except the only language in it I didn't like is they said, we've been actively trying to market this, and so now we're putting out an RFP. We're not, we're putting an RFP, but based on some of the work that was done by revitalization, you have some questions as to, are you capitalized, or do you have, do you have some construction scenarios, do you have a timeline, all of those things. So this one here, by the time we get to it, we may be really far ahead on this, with the RFP already going out, because we're almost at the final line with the environmentals. They're doing a re-sampling test around the outside, and they're having a public hearing tomorrow, which the public hearing would be part of that RFP, because you'd copy the minutes so that they know, you make it available to any prospective developer, and then it's a case of the committee,
Yeah.
looking at it and seeing what comes forward.
To Bernie's point about the proactive activity, revitalization had a guy come and talk about how you can have kind of like get-togethers down there to try and solicit, and they invite developers in to take a look. What was the name of that,
Main Street.
Main Street, Connecticut, was it? Yeah, this guy's got some nonprofit organization and he's got a list of developers that they can contact and drag in to take a look. And that was one of the preliminary things that could be done to try and get some attention going before maybe an RFP goes out to see if somebody's interested. That was the only thing I could think of from our meeting that was discussed.
Bobby, you had a chance to look through this over?
No, I haven't looked at that.
Oh, you should have, I put a lot of EDCs in these lists.
I'll go through that now.
It's only about 4 or 5 hours, Bob, no problem.
Let them take a look at it, because I think a couple of these questions are good for the committee that they can respond back to you.
We wanna come back to this section? Do you have, comments, questions?
Well, just the 1.4, identify and implement improvements to serve as incentives to encourage redevelopment and increase market potential.
That would be something like, let's say we went down there and improved the sightline to that entrance that we have. Or we took a building down, or we did something like that. I mean, even getting the environmental out of the way. These are all things that, you can call them an improvement. I mean, we've now cleared the name of the property for, pollution. But these would be the things that would serve to encourage redevelopment, increase the market.
There you go. Okay, that makes sense, yeah, all right.
I say probably one of the big things was access into the property, and so economic development basically hired an engineer to go down and look at that kind of stuff, and just to make it so it's easier to market. And so when we do go out to it, we kind of answered some of the immediate questions that are gonna come up.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to get ahead of the game as to, obviously, what are the limitations of the property and start answering them.
Right.
I mean, there's always gonna be utilities, sewers, water, access.
Regardless of what you're gonna put there,
Those are all the
Just
obvious things. We still
basic
gotta-
infrastructure that
they can
needs to be,
handle,
yeah.
how are we gonna handle the sewage,
Yeah.
how are we gonna handle
Yeah.
access, how are we gonna handle water?
Yeah, no gas.
So are we in the process of not only looking at do we like each of these different strategies and the steps to support them, but are we looking tonight to pencil in EDC, selectmen?
Well, that's what you were talking about. You already did that apparently.
Yes,
over
I
here.
did.
Well, why the hell don't you just give them to us
As long as
next
our
week?
name's not on there, we're good.
Well, unfortunately, here's what
Well,
this is.
it's
To
our
me.
decision.
But truthfully, tell you what a lot of this is. This is out of our own work list.
Right,
So that's why it was easy for me to fill in the gaps, and if you'd like me to, I could and present it, but this is out of our existing work list. When we talked about prepare a plan for access to town property in the road network of the village, we talked about it, that would be selectmen, DOT, planning and zoning.
Okay, so lead agency is what we need to fill in.
Yeah.
right, but I'm making the, for us, labor-saving suggestion that we ask Jim to stick it in there and then
There's nothing that's new.
Then we'll review it.
These
Right.
are the things
Yeah,
that were
I mean-
pulled out of the old plan, it's the same agencies.
right. But
It's
he
just
said
in a
around-
different format.
Right.
It's a, the
And do we wanna
format's
tweak
different.
any of them at this point also? And do we
Well-
wanna change any of
Well,
them?
let's
Right,
take
That's why I'm saying,
for example, okay, page 20,
Yeah,
2.5. We have lighting, gathering spaces, signage, and kiosks for information, okay? I'd like to add something like improvement to a crosswalk in the village with signage and maybe a stoplight at the crosswalk, which they did along the canal
So-
trail.
if you go to 2.3, prepare wayfinding and pedestrian circulation system plan, that's where that would be covered in,
Okay,
for the walkways.
it's not spelled out like on the bottom, but okay.
Yeah, so, see, what we would do is, walkways. Yeah, I mean, that's.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one there I have right next to it, implement a 2004 Fuss and O'Neill plan, because that addressed
That's
that,
the mobility study.
the mobility, it's on there, all of those things have been, looked at.
And who did you put down as the lead agency? Selectmen?
Selectmen.
Of course.
Because if the grant, if we got a grant, the grant would come through the selectman's office.
Okay.
Then we're right after that.
Are you familiar with raised crosswalks? I wish Rich was here tonight.
Yeah, I know.
You're not familiar with them?
Oh, I'm very familiar
Yeah.
with them. They're good for 15-mile-an-hour places. They're long and they're slow,
Right?
and they go up and down. But once the poor
Traffic
guy that has
slowing.
to, with their traffic slowing, they give you a little rise and you go back down.
Yeah.
but the problem is that the guys that have to plow the roads, with a, you know, it just becomes a nuisance.
It's not gonna snow anymore.
It might not, well, I know, it'll slow you down, it really does. I just went to,
Yeah.
I went to a park in one of those Jensen trailer parks down in, Killingworth. Oh my God, they got them painted every 60 feet.
What's the problem with plowing them?
I'm not talking about bumps, I'm talking about a
humps.
raised,
The raised hump,
10
Hit it
foot.
at 30 with a plow, because you can't see them.
Well, if they know they're there,
Well, under a blizzard,
I think it's
they know
no,
it's there,
they're not that good.
they're not moving.
if it's a straightaway, it's probably not an issue, but if it's on a corner, we get whining.
okay, we can continue.
And that's out of our control, that's totally DOT's.
Yeah.
Well, they
Being a
should,
state road.
It's like the light there, I think their problem is the
Okay, what else?
bridge. That's why I think they never wanted to consider a light there, because it's too close to the bridge. I think it's like another bottleneck right in front of the bridge. I think that's why they want to avoid that, doing that if
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this?
Now, for instance, on the very next page after 20, this is 21, I guess. The first one is 3.0, is prepare a land use master plan for the village and surrounding areas to identify locations and a mix of uses to reinforce it. Nobody's doing that exactly, right?
Well, I
We've
mean,
already kind of have that, but
We've had the environmental review, we've had the reuse study done 2 or 3 times, so when he printed this back then, I forwarded some of that stuff so
Well-
that we could talk about it.
well, the other thing, the only one question I really had is about surrounding areas. Now, you know, you can do a lot of things, but do you remember our zone change that went up the hill from the foot of
When they
Ray
crashed
Hill?
and burned?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you can say you think you should do these things, but people have the last word, and believe me, they were not about to change. I just think it's easier said than done on some of it. We may wanna do some of these things or think it's a good idea, but that's the last word, and, you know, and depends on what we call surrounding areas. I'm assuming we're
Well-
talking things like just outside the village zone.
Well, but the village zone now extends because Main Street, we extend all the way down to Landing Hill Road, so that has some
Would you
advantages
consider the village zone to be like a master plan in itself?
itself.
Yeah,
It's-
okay,
it's-
that's
it's-
what
it's the-
I was thinking more
It's
of
the
in those terms.
framework of what you can do, and it allows expandability that wasn't there, God, what did we say, 2005? Yeah, because that's when Gateway approved it,
Does it go down Creamery Road all the way to the airport?
in a minor extent, not as much.
Yeah.
The village
So there
district?
is a,
Yeah, there's,
So we could
it's not
extend
as, it's
there is a
lower,
line, huh?
it's under lower use versus moderate use,
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
so there is still use available.
And there's nothing that says that as people think about this going forward, you couldn't say, oh, that should be moderate use.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that, when you read a land use master plan, it sounds like you own the place, which you don't. So you can kind of lay out, that's why the zone kind of, you set up the zone to do certain things, and then the people who live there, they kind of make the choices, because you don't own it. So if they
So
don't
we
come up
could-
with
we could
anything,
instead of-
what are you supposed to do?
Then why don't we just write it?
Oh, I haven't got any but I don't see a master plan like you own, like it's a piece of property you own or something. I mean, we
Well,
can
that's
say a
what we-
master plan on
Right.
the land we do own, but I don't see,
But let's not look into the wording as much as that, just get rid of the master plan and
I think-
prepare a plan for village use and
Well,
surrounding area,
Maybe the word is explore existing plans for adaptation.
you know?
I'm not objecting to it, I'm just saying, it makes it sound like you could make it happen, which you can't.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
but you could give guidance, and I think, I think economic development's been looking for a master plan to show where do we need to have parking, where do we need to have basically the sidewalk built. So you have a
Or
plan
maybe
of
guidance
the
plan.
village to show
makes more
what
sense.
you do want to have, so when you do have an application, you
It's
can
advisory,
say
you know.
it conforms with our master plan of what we were planning for the area. I
Or
think we
plan
have
of conservation
plans, though.
developed.
Yeah, it's it's a way in which to plan it out. It doesn't mean that has to happen there, but it means we need parking. We
Yeah.
need parking that's accessible. We need access that's accessible. And I think we need to show that on a master plan.
How about a master plan for infrastructure?
That's, if we had something like that
In
when
the
before
village.
Buddhist was started.
Yeah,
imagine what it would
but
be.
we also
No,
want to
no, no, we
know
had a nice one from
where's
Moses.
the parking gonna be?
Like,
Well, that would be infrastructure.
Had it, we just didn't follow it.
Yeah,
We need
Not
to
sure.
follow.
Infrastructure, we usually
Something
think
just
of more
saying
as
that.
water, sewers,
Well,
and
it-
utilities.
before we have to bring breakfast tonight, are we just concerned about calling it a master plan?
Just for discussion purposes, it doesn't really bother me either way, as long as, you know, it's understood it's an advisory thing, it's, you know, I don't have a big, I'm just saying, it kind of makes it sound like you own the place and can make things happen. You
How about
can't.
conceptual master plan?
Fine, something like that, or, you know, just say,
Prepare a plan for the village.
yeah, a master plan is fine for an advisory situation, yeah, okay,
Prepare a plan.
okay. I don't have a big objection to it, I mean, I don't think it's gonna change anything.
Okay.
Go ahead, what do you got?
Anything else? Bernie, you got a lot of written things down.
Well, yeah,
What page are you on?
23. Modus.
The lovely town.
Let's not go so fast.
Did I skip something? What do you got?
I'm looking
We can
at,
always revisit this.
We can.
Oh, yeah.
We will on the next, page.
When's our next meeting with Mike?
I actually emailed him, and I don't know if he did get back to me. I do know that we have the public session, we ended up picking the 29th, which is a Monday. This was the only time.
29th of October?
Of October. The gym's open, there's no activities there, and it's also the 5th Monday, so it's not a conflict with any other commissions and boards.
Okay. So we're
So
out.
I asked him, you know, do we have another meeting, and I've also asked him, you know, where's the, I need a flyer, so I can get it. in there.
Now the clock's starting to tick on us.
I know. Yep.
I mean, when we sit down for Mike, we'll address all of this. He just wants us, kind of us to narrow it down a little for him.
Yeah, make any corrections or whatever, that was.
Correct, that's all we're doing.
Okay.
And we will revisit it again, so don't,
Well,
you'll have more than one bite.
It's more like defining things for me, like the next one is, on that page 23, conduct opportunities and constraint analysis for the area to determine strategies to enhance development opportunities. Constraint analysis.
Done. We did that when we did the sewer analysis.
Yeah, because that's the
We
constraint.
walked through every one of those properties.
Well, okay,
vacant or
but
not.
what are you asking?
just wanted to understand what it was.
What the constraint analysis of Modus Village, Modus Center are.
Okay,
So
Is it just that? Is that's the only one, or?
that's the first constraint, so
Okay.
that's the one that counts. The second constraint is lack of traffic, which we have no control over.
Yeah.
And then obviously the third constraint is economics, is to, you know, people have the money to build something. And when you think that's the criteria,
Oh, yeah.
when you're looking at a piece of land.
Well, you
Yeah.
need a certain traffic flow in order to get people to make investments. And you need to have accessible parking and of course, I mean, some of the properties up there have some severe limitations because of sewage.
Hmm.
I mean, the pizza building, you can't put any more density, you can't put another chair.
Well, but
that's their own.
that's the only one though. Out of all of our review, that's the only one. And they can solve that problem with a
That's-
simple acquisition.
We all
Oh,
know.
yeah, okay, but it takes money, it takes capital.
They actually have it, they're just stubborn.
You just discovered that?
So who would be,
Is anyone stubborn?
who would be the lead agency on that, opportunities and constraints analysis? Or what would we say is that? That
Well,
would be,
that was a combined effort between PNC and EDC to review the properties.
okay.
That answer your question?
Yeah, so we've analyzed this and we know the answer.
That we have the room for sewage, and we have back, and we have area that we can build sewage if we have to.
Big constraint is economics, really.
Because we looked at all that.
I think the next step is, you know, this 1.2 is kind of out of PNC and, you know, that's maybe more into EDC is to keep properties, Brownells, marketing and you know, there's a planning and zoning because you guys are the ones that have to review the application. But there's a lot of ideas from Brownells. I mean, I've had people come and say, well, can we use it for residential? And I'm like, have you really looked at it? And then, you know, then they look at it and go, okay, maybe that's not it, because they were thinking
Yeah, well, big old,
three-story
yeah,
old factory, and it's not. It's 80,000 square feet of warehouse.
yeah.
But, you know, do we make that an incubator building? Do we, you know, can someone grow mushrooms? You know, the medical marijuana, that was a big, you know, big site. It had its potential. We left the door open, nobody come running.
Who are the lead agencies for that, though?
That'd be more of an EDC.
EDC? We just leave everything on EDC or selectmen?
I told Bobby he needs to review this.
Okay.
So what page are we at, guys?
24.
Okay, so item 3 there is the big deal.
Item 3 is a combination between land use, EDC, and selectmen about grant opportunities for any of the properties that have environmental contamination. Because sometimes it's.
If I read this right, it's identify and recruit anchor retail uses. That's,
This is
page
24.
24,
Oh,
item
page
3.
24,
Yeah,
oh, I'm
bottom.
sorry.
That's a big nut to crack.
Yeah, I think the
Well,
word
Necessary.
anchor is, you know, that is perceived to be one of the big boxes. I don't know if that's the word you want. Successful businesses may be a better term than anchor.
Well, I mean, you can look at it on a small scale, like Village Pizza is the anchor, or maybe it's the pharmacy for the plaza.
Pharmacy, they're-
The pharmacy?
Yeah, sure, because they draw the most people.
Okay, they do.
And dollar volume.
And then it's Grist Mill maybe across the street for the rest of those little businesses in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're the anchors.
they're the main one. I mean, that's the kind of, because, you know, we're not getting any big box anchors or anything, not that we want them.
Well, we won't allow it.
But I mean, you know, there's none of numbers or any of that stuff.
Correct.
So who would be the lead agency on identify and recruit? EDC, hey,
See, I told you, this is an easy form to fill out.
put EDC or selectmen whenever you don't know for sure.
Okay,
You wanna
anything
get rid of
on,
that job.
okay, anything on 25?
Corners.
That's us with EDC.
That 1.2 with the public investment in utilities and that evaluate the implementation, I mean, well, who's that falling on? That would be selectmen maybe, because you're connected with that deal that was struck? I mean, who else would be?
Well,
Because that's that trade-off electrical
yeah,
deal, right? That was the selectmen that did that, right?
EDC kind of has a.
And EDC?
evaluate, you know, that.
You got a way to do that?
On the one above that, 111, should we identify what undesirable industrial uses? Or,
Well,
you know it when you see it.
that's it.
that does bring up the, because I see in this, they were pushing toward that Bernstein's corner to be more commercial than industrial, to get away from that. Right now, it's totally industrial, right?
Yeah.
So that is something that will be falling on us to reevaluate, I guess.
Yeah, I think that is something you should be looking into, to see how you, what you do wanna have on that corner.
Well, a lot depends on what the state decides they want to do there too.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, they might want to, if they put in that traffic circle, then everything changes. Right? And who knows if they're gonna do it? I mean, how are we gonna?
It'd be a
when are
ways
they
down
gonna
the
let us know?
road, but
Yeah,
Well, it'd still be a
No,
case of, do you want, as you're coming around that corner, do you want industrial buildings right there, or do you want commercial?
Right.
And I think that from the sight line and for just the idea of the use of it, certainly commercial is.
and
a
the
lot more
visibility of it too.
Oh, yeah.
It's a, you know, it's a corner, anytime you have a corner, that's, something you really wanna protect, to get what you wanna have on that corner as far as the industrial use or commercial.
Industrial used to go down towards where Jim's property is.
Yeah,
If you don't specify, you have a hard time keeping somebody out of there. Row of, storage.
Well, you don't want a warehouse because it's a big metal box.
No, you don't want that.
There's nothing beautiful about any of that, so.
and they're tight, so no matter where you're gonna have trailer trucks or something like that,
Yeah.
and it would be, the trailer trucks are coming from the low side. So it'd be the total.
They'd be right out in the front facing the intersection, the whole thing, cause that'd be where the loading docks would be.
Yeah.
So it's something I think that P and Z and economic development, we could certainly talk about what we think.
I know Mike
how
came
that
up-
could get working.
Mike came up with a good plan on his, when he, conceptual, it's in the one coming up, so. Okay, anything else on this?
I was just saying, what I meant about Buddhist was just the uniformity. It's like nothing kind of goes together. It took me 4 years to figure
What,
that
Buddhist?
those were businesses back.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just, you know, that's just
Yeah,
from
no.
an outsider looking at it. No,
Yeah, no,
We had a master plan.
I'm not trying to, you know,
No, no.
no, I
I
know.
was just saying, we don't want
That's so
something like
fast.
that happening down at other end of town.
Okay, are we off to July? Are we done with, I mean, we'll go back at any time, but just to get the wheels turning.
Well, the only question I have is when are we gonna label the agency, or is that something we let Mike and, was it Chris or something? What was it?
Excuse me.
Well, I think that's what's left for us, I mean, and basically, like I said, this is taken from our existing worksheet.
No, but
Nothing
to fill in
really
the
new.
blanks on who should be looking at this, I mean, obviously, if you think about it. for
Oh,
a
I'm
minute,
not worried, yeah, well,
Anybody could do it, I guess. That means you.
what's on our next meeting? Do we have anything coming up?
Nothing yet, surprisingly.
I mean,
So I mean, maybe I'll have Mike come to that one.
well, I don't know, we'll see.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not in no rush to get through all these right now.
Yep.
So,
Okay. No, it's,
Yeah. I'm good. I got only a couple things on this one, and they're minor.
you know, Bob needs to go through them. You obviously didn't have copies of any of these?
Yes, I have,
No, I mean, but like the other ones, so I mean, because,
yeah, certainly these, you know, the July and August.
Yeah.
These four.
yeah, you just got the copies though, right?
I know, I have the, I think I have the July one.
you know, so
Or some
the
pieces of it
September one.
anyway.
Okay.
I have the whole.
A lot of the housing in this one here is us,
In July?
in July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the July one on page 8, which is the zoning amendments since 2009. I mean, one of them's out of order there, just for the obvious flow of information. The April 2016 one, which is section 5 definition, that should be moved a couple of spaces down to fit into where it belongs, right?
Yeah, I don't know how they did that.
I don't
They
know either,
copied
I'm
it
just
out.
saying, just
Yeah.
so that it's right. The other one is the last, one of the things is the last one, it says September 13th, 2016, was section 9.7 and section 10 IG districts reduced. Now, that's where we changed the total number down.
Districts reduced,
Yeah,
not area reduced.
yeah, well, that was why I was thinking we should change the way that's worded, because it sounds like we made our IG district smaller, which we didn't.
Reduced
that
number
we
of
made it
districts.
bigger.
Yeah.
But just
Yep.
realigned or whatever we wanna call it,
And
but
we have to,
shouldn't say reduced.
we need to fix this because we did the mobile food, and we did the helicopter, and all that's gotta be added.
That's all in there too somewhere. Well, I don't know
Are we
whether
talking
the
about-
helicopter one's in
We're
there.
talking about page 8?
Yeah.
Yes.
8, yeah.
Just that list, I saw some stuff, I read
Yeah.
through.
Wait, I thought what this page was saying is to list for us to identify any future
Yeah.
zoning or subdivision regulation changes that we foresee in the next 2, 3, 4
Oh,
Right.
years. Not, and
I thought it was
what
just
he
a
did is put-
calendar since
what he did-
2009.
No.
Well,
What
it's
he
showing
did
what
is
we
just-
already did, but they're
That's what I
asking
mean.
where we're going, where we wanna go.
And what our $40,000 consultant did was simply make a list of things that we've done recently
Oh, okay.
for illustration.
Well, we got a few
Well,
things.
it's leaving it up to us to decide where we wanna go with it.
Right, and what I'm saying is, in the final version, I don't believe that we would have a list of what we've done historically in terms of.
Oh, okay, oh, I see, that's not part of the plan, okay.
Right,
I thought, just
well,
went over
it's
it.
our plan in the rearview mirror.
Yeah,
But looking forward,
What do we wanna do?
right, about a PRUD update. I think it's necessary. And it goes back to,
The housing.
housing,
What page are you on?
I'm not sure yet. How about page 3 to start?
Okay,
oh, yeah, that's before you on page 9, this map.
hold on.
Oh, okay.
And maybe it's in here already. Incorporate deeded affordable housing into medium, large-scale developments in East Haddam Village and Moodus Village.
Where are you? 1.2,
What page is that?
1.2, yeah.
What page?
urge development of
Page
diverse
3.
housing types, scales, and density in the village neighborhoods in close proximity to commercial areas and public facilities. That's what's written.
Do we need more deeded housing?
Well, here's the problem with the deeded housing. First place, you have to have a developer who wants to come in and participate. So if you give like a density bonus on a subdivision, where if in the standard regulations, you're allowed to have 20 units, but if you go to, instead of 1 acre, go to, 0.8 acres on the thing, and you put whatever number it happens to be, so let's just say 10%, and you put, 4 of them into deeded restriction, maybe you'll get 22 lots out of it, you get 20. So it's deeded property, and we have one town, that was a HUD application.
Yeah.
Where it came through, and that's the only way it was deeded that way, is that then it was sold at a reduced cost. And that lot, when you go to sell it, even though if your neighbor's property went from 275 to 320, you're on an escalator that goes with the national average and not the area income. So if you go to sell it, you sell it as a deeded, and that thing hangs with the house for about 20 years. When that came around, the market crashed and bottomed right out as a legislative ability to do it. We haven't had a sample subdivision where they'll come in and do it. Anybody at any time can apply for affordable housing development, which means that a percentage of them are that, and it throws quite a bit of the concept of zoning out the door. Wayne Rand did it up in East Hampton because he had sewer and water. So he does it up in East Hampton, and East Hampton calls me in a panic saying, you need to stop him from doing it. And I said, no, you need to tell him instead of 10%, you need to have 20. I said, because the affordable house rate was so high for East Hampton and East Haddam. I said, that number is your teachers, your firemen, your police department, and all that. They never bothered to call me back again, because they didn't like that answer. But it's something we can look at. It would have, and maybe the only place is if somebody did take like a banner with an
Well,
application.
that's what I'm getting to. I mean, did we miss,
We might have missed the opportunity with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're correct.
What, to put a restriction on it?
You could say that a
Just
certain percentage of.
certain number of units, deeded restriction?
Yeah,
I mean, we do wanna make homes affordable for teachers and police officers and.
but the other thing too is that they won't give us credit for is that housing stock that we have that is going under 180,000. They won't give us any credit for that at all. So you could have 20 sales of under 180,000 and it doesn't count towards anything.
The only ones they count are the deeded ones.
They only wanna count the deeded ones, that's all they wanna do, and it's an unfair thing.
Yeah.
It's unfair to rural communities because we're stuck.
We already have it.
You know, we have them, any one of those cottages that are smaller, that are converted to year-round and, have less value because they're 8 or, 650 square foot, that's an affordable housing unit at that point. It doesn't give us any credit.
Yeah.
So,
Their whole,
That development,
Right.
that development down in Essex, the one next to the railroad track,
Yeah.
that's affordable housing.
Not all of it,
No, 20% of it.
20%.
Wow.
All those apartments over there.
Yeah, they're all
but
rental.
what was the number for Essex at affordable housing, it started 240?
No, these were rentals.
Oh,
And,
okay.
so it's all rental property down there, and yes, it's a number that we probably would see as we are super high.
Yeah.
And,
Now, what about Saybrook by the train station? What's the percentage of that?
I don't know whether that was anything was in there for affordable housing. I think so, yeah. But
Well, I know it came up at Gateway, they chimed in on that one, but they wouldn't touch the Essex one. They didn't wanna say, that one they just blew off. You might have been there for that meeting. But anyway, cause they brought up affordable housing or whatever, and
But I mean, it shows you though that some people are doing it, and, but they're in the higher market.
well, you see, they escape the obvious economic problem with doing it, where you have a high-end subdivision of 30 or 40 homes, and you're gonna plug in one of your little subdivision streets with low-income housing practically. I mean, wow, that ought to help you out. It just economically, it doesn't really work. That's why, but it worked in Essex because
There's a
they're high
certain
rents,
It's not
so,
that low.
so they're not really low income.
correct.
yeah, even our number is not low income, it's not low.
Not low by some
No.
standards, no, I know what you mean.
But it
those
kills me,
are, but,
you have all this low housing in Ludus.
but a lot of
But they
our
won't-
lake
Hey,
houses,
look at my house.
I grew up in.
a lot of our lake houses are starter homes, so they are that.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
Bob, that Essex development isn't 55 and older, is it?
It's split.
No.
Yeah.
No age restriction, but
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, I wanna live there,
Fault line.
but bad train traffic.
I like, it's not a stream, or what the hell
Seems
is
like
it?
it'd be a rather noisy neighborhood.
For hearing impaired,
What's that?
for the hearing impaired.
Yeah, but whatever. Okay, where are we off to? What do you have, Bernie?
page 4. 2.2. Why would we give density bonuses to low and moderate income housing?
It's the only way you can get them to do it. That's why they're doing it. Because like I said, it doesn't really work. Financially, it's a loser, kind of. There you are kind of degrading your nice subdivision with cheaper places attached to them. So the only way to get them to do it is to give them a bonus for density.
Yeah, that's what you have to do, give them a bonus, but those units can't be cheaper. They have to be built at the same standard as the other, that the percentage has to be sold at the,
Okay, so it's
At
a
a different
financial
price.
loser.
it's a financial loser.
Okay.
And the reason we mention this is because by state statute, we have to provide the opportunity for them, am I correct?
No, what happens is, it's not that we have to provide the regulations, because section 8-30 is out there, somebody could come and have a nice piece of property, they could find it, and this always happens when there's sewer, it never happens on our land, because our land can't handle the density, and they go, I know it's 2 acre zone, because there's sewer and you don't have the 400 units, which is 10% of the units of our total housing stock, I'm just gonna go in and do this. Well, then, then they get away with the density and they can do 10%, they can do 100%, of affordable housing. But it works only in the situation where you have infrastructure to deal with it. So that's why when you go and sit in these meetings with the Meridans and nobody can file those claims against them because they're already exceeded 10%.
But we have to talk about it because
It's
we have to, so we have to have it in there.
I mean, and maybe Bernie's got a point that under a PURD, there's an opportunity that we could have had in that place. So out of 300 approvable units, we could have had 30, 45, depending on the percentage.
Yeah.
Does any of that Mudas Green Village qualify? I mean, it's seniors, but Seems like it would.
Because it's not deed restriction, it
Oh,
don't count.
okay, so it doesn't count, yeah, even though it,
Even though that the rents may be
I see, yeah,
in that range,
Okay.
okay.
they're stuck on having everything deeded instead of doing a market analysis.
But one of my points was that if you were to give density bonuses to developers, it seems like it should be more along the line of senior housing. I mean,
Which we already give a density bonus for that.
we do.
Yeah, that's how come they could get 33 units down at the Davis site, where if you went to anything else, it'd be a lot less. That was a high density bonus that was given because it's
What site is?
the
Green
Oh, Rodney Davis,
Rodney.
no.
Grove Street.
Green Village, yeah.
Green Village.
Yeah.
That's a very high density compared to others.
Okay.
Yes, it is. He's still very bitter about that.
All right, so when he says in 3.3, explore methods to provide additional housing for senior citizens such as allowing for increased density in PRUD. That's,
We could review it, it could be going through and we could do samples again, we could, it's been a while. But, we're allowing 3 units per buildable acre,
okay.
without sewer, that's high.
Yeah, it's only if you got good
In the
soils.
state, they had a program where they wanted to do this, and they basically looked at me and said, if you don't have sewer and water, you have to leave, because they were looking to get 6 units per buildable acre. And they said, no, you and you little towns, just get up and leave now. I said, but you invited us. I said, well,
We'll leave after lunch.
yeah.
Is it being served?
Okay. Anything on 5, Bernie? No. Okay, you went right by it. Jim, do you have anything?
No, I'm good on this one.
Then we start getting into development down Town Street. EDC's been talking about that.
Sure, started a big firestorm.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
What was that, Jim?
So,
The comment in the paper?
Yeah.
Oh, I hadn't heard anything.
Oh, we also got a FOI request. Did you get yours?
What's that?
From Linda? Yeah.
Which is?
What are we
Joel
talking
wanted
about?
FOI and any information about expansion, so I'm gonna give him a copy of this, a copy of minutes of planning and zoning, and,
Who's looking for it, Linda?
no, Joel.
Joel?
I. On town
Oh,
street
yeah,
and road.
that's
Next
Sanibel.
to Sanibel.
That's Sanibel.
Oh, okay.
And the pictures of who.
They came up in EDC and I think they were interested in, at some point, like to make a committee of planning and zoning members and EDC members to take a look and see what the feasibility of that area is, and whether it makes sense or not.
Okay. Anything else in this section for right now?
Yeah, just a curious question. Opportunity 1, that Bernstein property and everything,
Yeah.
was this Commerce Drive? Was one of those properties sold to Scully?
Yeah.
Which one?
And way up the hill on the right-hand side as you're going up.
So it'd be the right-hand side, he bought 2 of the lots, so it'd be, what it looks like
Must be
it's
the 4 and the 1,
1.7
huh?
and the 1.5,
4.7?
yeah,
And the 1.0?
and the 1.0.
You bought all of that?
He bought those 2 parcels.
You know what he plans to do up there, or?
Yeah, it has his business there, so it's landscaping.
Yeah.
And Bernstein owns all the rest?
Bernstein owns those other,
4.
there are 4, yeah, there
Yeah,
are 4.
okay.
One's not a building lot.
The fourth one right off by the road is
Right.
basically
Yeah, okay.
But it is a separate piece.
Well, a lot of acreage for a landscape business.
Yes, yeah, it sure is. No, it's a pretty
Good for
big
him.
chunk. I think we could speed up. Speed up.
I'm surprised they sold it. They don't give away anything. Who owns the property behind Sandville's property? That 42, he owns the 42?
Yeah.
All the way,
Oh,
the one behind, I know he has the V that goes all through the wetland, but who owns the big property right behind that?
Staley?
Is that Staley?
Now, that's,
It's access it off,
Yeah.
Petticoat Lane down.
Isn't that Molly's?
Molly's land.
yeah.
It was Molly, so it was part of Alex to Molly to.
Oh, yeah, the sister there owns that one.
There's quite a, if you really look at closest to topography, there's quite a ridge there.
Right, yeah, right there. So that's, what's her face's property, yeah, her and her sister own it, I know who you mean. Okay,
Patty and,
yep, that's it, Patty.
Patty and the other sister is
Yep.
Kevin's ex there.
Yep. So that won't be going anywhere.
I already did test holes up there, so I wouldn't say that.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah. It's somewhat buildable. It's kinda nice, it's raised up there, but.
Okay, draft land use goals. We know that we, on page 19, went from 20,000 to 10,000 acres.
It's even less than, it's,
So. Goals. Okay, how about if I make a suggestion? Since it's late, we're all seem like we're tired, we're not getting anywhere, I don't think, right now. Why don't we review September, and our next meeting, we have absolutely nothing on it, let's hit it again. Does that sound like a deal? Because I know you need to review things.
Yeah, I'd like to look at that.
And I feel like we're just kind of floundering right now.
Are there any more, workshop pop-ups, any of this other stuff that
I
these guys are
have to
planning?
do one with the,
Make up?
farmer's market,
Oh, he hasn't done that.
and
Yeah, what is he
the
doing
weather
now?
is not helping us, is it?
No, that's coming up, isn't it? It was supposed to be tomorrow?
It was, but tomorrow's supposed to be windy and brutal, so.
Is he still planning on going, or? Okay.
I got no word of it. No, it's,
Okay.
they were on a cycle now.
Did you get any results down at,
Yes, that was in the 12th discussion. Yeah.
Does the commission feel that it would be to our benefit to ask Mike to join us at our next meeting, or do we really want more people here and more? I think maybe we need, before we waste our money, bringing Mike in, let's make sure we have our T's crossed and dotted and all that good
Oh,
stuff.
we were gonna meet in 2 weeks anyway, so we can probably get that done before we have them in, right?
Correct, yeah, we meet in 2 weeks, so that's my suggestion. So. And
Then maybe
Bob,
what I can do is take from that meeting a quick turnaround and get it to them
Yeah.
So he's got it as part of.
Cause he's
his-
waiting for this.
He's waiting for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you
But he also
heard from him?
No.
'Cause I haven't heard any correspondence, cause I'm supposed to be in on the loop,
The
but then I
only, the
haven't.
only thing that I, we agreed to is the 29th, or did I say 29th? I think
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
opening that day. And he was supposed to give me a flyer so I could mail it, so I bumped him today about getting that flyer to me, and so that I could copy it off and then bring it to get sent to everybody as a notification. And it kind of worked out with the gym, because the next day they're doing some sort of presentation, so every time they use the gym, they lay out the floor. So I made everybody happy that we used 2 days in a row to get to lay out the floor matting.
Yeah, because the economic experts.
Next day, okay, yeah, see. Yeah. So you're only gonna yell happy.
Much as everywhere.
Just to go back to what Bob said earlier about putting a subcommittee together and looking at Town Street parcels that could be developed commercially or, to what degree is that spot zoning when you?
Well, we have to go
Cherry
back and
pick-
I think that what Bob was thinking about and what we're looking at in the plan of conservation development is not spot zoning it, but rezoning the whole district.
Yeah, basically.
So it's
All the
not,
way down the
so
corridor.
we're not spot zoning it, we're looking at the whole corridor, that whole road.
Mixed zoning, right? Commercial.
Well, it depends on what we wanna do with it. I was gonna wait until more of the commission's here before we really open it up, because Ed's not here, you see who's not here, so.
There's a lot of discussion and finalize the plan
Lot
of
of-
conservation development before we think of what we
Right.
wanna do.
Because,
So
we
you're
had
saying
talked about it,
outside of the IG, there would be this mixed-use zone?
yes, which it kinda is already, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, there's a lot of business.
there's a lot of businesses there, all the way down to Hadline Four Corners.
We just put that what we did 15 years ago.
You know? I mean, you know, right at the end of Cold Spring Road, there's the gas station, it used to be, convenience store, at one point it was a gas station and a liquor store.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what we want. That's
Well,
not
no,
what-
I mean-
That's not what I want. I mean.
No, but they
A
were
mixed
there
use.
from the 1920s or earlier. I mean, they were there for a long time.
Yeah, it was there for a long
And
time.
they're grandfathered in, and they're there.
Well, no, it's all gone now, it's not zoned for it.
Gave it up.
They let it go.
Right, and it's
They took it, they
residential
went.
now.
That's fine.
You can avoid it.
Just
There's a road, you go either way.
Get whatever,
That's not the
so I
point.
can hand it out this revitalization.
No, but I think that's,
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
it
I'll
needs
make
to be
copies.
something for discussion, just
Yeah.
just
A
for,
lot of it, we just, we got.
I know, it's all in there, but.
obviously, what everybody thinks and whether it looks like something that should be looked into greater depth and what kind of regulations would be good for the businesses that are there. You've got the Staley influence there. you've
Yeah,
got-
well, with focusing on tourism, something that pulls people to Gillette's Castle or something, yeah, from River Road down to the Four Corners makes sense to have some type of a.
Right, and that's all we're
Mixed use
looking
zone.
at.
And don't forget, whatever we do propose, this be a public hearing, and if
Right.
people
Oh.
don't like it,
Oh, yeah, it's
absolutely.
you're gonna hear about it.
And Joe Lytle will be sitting in the front seat there.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And then,
Although they used to have an antique shop in his place.
And he could again?
Seriously.
But I think we do see it, if they're falling
Miniature golf.
into
Yeah, well.
some kind of uses, the Palmer Warner House, that's gonna go into some kind of uses. So they wanna do, weddings and, similar to what you put in the Smith House. And, so, they've got to generate some income to support these houses, and we want them to remain as,
No, they
historic
squandered all the
houses.
money.
You've got to have some income to do it.
Yeah.
And, so I think it's better that we pick what we want to see and not pick what we want to see.
Yeah.
And give everything the neighborhood protection that we want to give it. And I think that one of the big things is that architectural approvals. I mean, that
Right.
certainly helps. Gives you an idea of what you're getting.
Yeah.
So that, and I think it's better to have some guidance than no guidance.
No Dollar General,
Oh,
I
yeah.
learned the hard way there.
Can only wait.
My commute doesn't
The
bring
one
me
that's
that
down
way, so I'm
in
not
the East
watching
Line
it.
is not particularly ugly. It's not bad. I mean, it's not
It's a
the
metal
best,
bill,
but it's not bad.
Where's East Line?
Right down on 56, there's a Dollar
156,
General, just before you get to
Niantic.
Niantic.
Niantic, it's on the way right.
Oh,
in
okay.
there.
Yeah, right next to, what is it, that, Dunkin' Donuts gas
Yeah, no,
station,
there's a whole bunch
whatever
of
it
them
is
there,
there.
but the building is not that bad. I mean, it
No.
looks okay.
Yeah.
It's kinda like Dunkin' Donuts looks okay. It's not bad.
Depends on what they
See
gave them. Dunkin' Donuts, no guidance.
I
over
know,
there.
well, that's what they got, and they got the same thing with Dollar General.
They see what
Okay,
Tyler
entertain a
Grove
motion
brings.
to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I see we have a cemetery sign at the Palmer Warner House, so we haven't done anything about the cemetery, but we got our sign up.
Yeah.
No,
So-
they cleaned out a nice path back there now.
Only partway.
Oh,
Well, it's because that was done by Connecticut Landmark. They're the
Yeah.
ones that cleaned it out.
Yeah,
And actually, the rest of the way should, it needs a serious cleaning of the cemetery.
The cemetery
So it's trees
needs
down.
a lot of work.
I brought it up to the first selectman, how many years ago?
Two and a half?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Craig was still hired as doing what being done now, so Craig still worked here. Craig and I walked here and I said, Craig, I'll make it real simple for you. It doesn't take a tree warden to tell you, these trees are gonna come down, and you're gonna be redistributing bones.
Yeah.
These trees
Yep.
need to come down. I don't care how
They're
grand they are, how
close to
beautiful
the
they are.
graves.
I
They're what?
said,
They're close to the graves.